You think respect comes from being good. That's the exact reason you don't have it. The world doesn't reward virtue, it rewards position. And the rules that govern position, they're never spoken out loud. They're assumed, they're invisible, and they're enforced whether you understand them or not. Stop scrolling. What you're about to hear will make you uncomfortable, because once you see how power actually moves, you can't pretend anymore. You can't go back to blaming circumstances. You'll know exactly why you've been losing, and that knowledge, it changes everything. Machiavelli wrote The Prince, not as philosophy, but as survival code. He watched Florence burn. He saw good men destroyed by better liars. And he realized something most people still refuse to accept. Morality doesn't protect you, strategy does. Today, breaking down the silent rules powerful people follow, but never explain. These aren't motivational, they're mechanical. They describe how humans actually behave when something's at stake. Not how we wish they'd behave, how they do. And if you don't learn these rules, you'll spend your entire life wondering why effort never equals outcome, why loyalty gets you betrayed, why kindness makes you a target. Let's fix that right now. Rule number 1. Predictability is permission. If people know exactly how you'll react, they control you. Machiavelli said it clearly. Men are so simple and so subject to present necessities, that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. Translation: if you're consistent in your emotional responses, you're easy to manage. Your coworker knows if they compliment you, you'll over-deliver. Your partner knows if they withdraw attention, you'll chase. Your boss knows if they dangle a vague promotion, you'll work weekends. You've become a button, and buttons get pressed. Psychology backs this completely. Behavioral conditioning works because patterns create expectation. Expectation creates control. The person who stays unpredictable, they hold the uncertainty, and uncertainty is where respect lives. So here's the rule. Never let anyone fully map your reactions. Be kind one day, cold the next. Not chaotic, strategic. Let them wonder what version of you they're getting. The moment they stop being sure, you stop being a tool. Think about it. Who in your life has power over you? I guarantee they're unpredictable. And who do you take for granted? I guarantee they're not. Now here's the trap nobody sees. You think being unpredictable makes you unstable. It doesn't. It makes you sovereign. Rule number 2. Goodness without enforcement is weakness. Machiavelli said, a man who wishes to act entirely up to his professions of virtue soon meets with what destroys him among so much that is evil. Listen carefully. Being good is not the problem. Being good without boundaries is. Most people perform goodness because they were taught it by safety. Be kind, be helpful, be understanding, and the world will treat you fairly. That's a child's contract. The world never signed it. What actually happens? People test you. They take a little. You allow it because you're good. They take more. You allow it because confrontation feels wrong. Eventually, you're not respected. You're resented. Because deep down, people don't respect what they can freely take. Respect comes from resistance, from the ability and willingness to say no, not loudly, not emotionally, just clearly. Psychology calls this boundary enforcement. Machiavelli called it necessary cruelty. Same thing. If you cannot defend your position, your generosity becomes your liability. People won't thank you. They'll assume you're weak, and they'll treat you accordingly. So here's the rule. Be good, be generous, be kind, but never without the capacity for refusal. Let people know, quietly, that your goodness is a choice, not a weakness. The moment someone tries to exploit it, you show them the other side. Not revenge, just withdrawal, silence, distance. That shift, that one move from warm to cold, teaches more than 1,000 words ever will. And here's the thing, once you do it, you'll notice something. The people worth keeping, they respect it. The ones who don't, they reveal themselves. Fast. Most people destroy themselves right here. They stay kind to prove they're not cruel, and they lose everything. Rule number 3. Perception decides your position. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what really are." Let that sit for a second. People don't judge you by your effort. They judge you by what they see. Your intentions mean nothing if your image communicates weakness. This is why someone who works twice as hard gets half the recognition. They look busy. The other person looks essential. There's a difference. Busy people respond. Essential people decide. Busy people explain themselves. Essential people let silence do the work. If you're constantly justifying your value, you're teaching people to question it. If you move with quiet certainty, people assume you have reasons they don't understand, and they respect that gap. Psychology confirms it. The halo effect. The authority bias. Humans make snap judgments and then find evidence to support them. If your first impression communicates struggle, that's your brand. If it communicates control, same thing. So manage what they see, not fake. Strategic. Here's the rule. Stop over-explaining. Stop seeking approval in real time. Let your actions create the perception. Then protect that perception like it's oxygen. Because in the social economy, it is. You can be the smartest person in the room, but if you look uncertain, you're invisible. You can be average, but if you look calm and decisive, people assume you know something, and assumption is half of influence. Really think about it. Who gets promoted? The hardest worker or the person leadership imagines in the role? See, perception isn't vanity, it's survival. And this is where most people lose everything. They think being real means being unfiltered. No, being real means being intentional. Rule number 4. Silence is more dangerous than words. Machiavelli understood that power doesn't need to announce itself. In fact, the moment you start explaining your authority, you've already lost it. Silence creates weight. It forces the other person to fill the void. And when they do, they reveal their position, their fear, their need, their leverage. Most people are terrified of silence, so they talk, they justify, they explain, they negotiate against themselves. You stay quiet, not rude, just still. Watch what happens. They'll offer more, apologize faster, respect you harder. Because silence implies options, it implies you're weighing their value. And that evaluation, it shifts the power completely. Modern psychology calls this the power of the pause. Machiavelli just called it smart. When you speak too much, you give people data. Data they'll use to predict you, manipulate you, or dismiss you. When you speak less, you become unreadable, and unreadable is untouchable. Here's the rule. Let other people explain themselves. Let them fill silence with offers, apologies, and concessions. You just listen, nod, wait. The person who speaks less controls the frame. Always think about every negotiation you've lost. I guarantee you talked yourself out of leverage. You explained too much. You sought approval. You tried to be liked. The other person, they just waited and won. That's not an accident. That's the rule. This next part separates the weak from the powerful. Learn to sit in discomfort, because the person who can't tolerate silence will always break first. Rule number 5. People don't follow virtue. They follow strength. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Most people hear that and think it's cruel. It's not. It's observational. He's not saying be a tyrant. He's saying don't rely on affection for respect, because affection is conditional. Strength is structural. People respect what they can't ignore. They follow what feels inevitable. If your position depends on people liking you, it's fragile. One bad day, one rumor, one shift in mood, and you're done. But if your position depends on competence, consistency, and consequences, you're stable. You're feared, not in a violent way, in a don't want to cross that person way. That's power. Psychology agrees. Authority doesn't come from warmth. It comes from certainty, from the belief that you will do what you say, that you won't bend under social pressure, that you have a line, and crossing it costs something. That's what people respect, not your kindness, your spine. Here's the rule: be pleasant, be fair, but never be soft. Let people know that beneath the calm surface, there's an edge. You don't have to show it often, just once. That's enough. After that, they'll remember, and they'll adjust. You'll notice something immediately. The people who respected your kindness will respect your strength even more. The people who exploited your kindness, they'll disappear. Let them. That filtering, that's the system work. Now listen closely to this part. You've been taught that being loved is the goal. It's not. Being respected is. Love without respect is manipulation. Respect without love is still functional. Choose function. Rule number 6. Loyalty is strategic, not emotional. Machiavelli advised princes to reward loyalty but never depend on it, because people are loyal to their interest, not to you. That's not cynical. It's accurate. If your value to someone disappears, so does their loyalty. This is why you see coworkers turn on you after a layoff, friends distance after you lose status, partners leave when you stop providing something they need. They're not evil, they're human. Loyalty isn't a feeling, it's a calculation. So stop giving it freely. Stop expecting it unconditionally. Instead, build loyalty structurally. Make yourself valuable. Make your absence costly. Make your presence irreplaceable. When someone's loyalty depends on their rational interest in keeping you close, it's stable. When it depends on emotion, it's weather. It changes. Here's the rule: be loyal to people who are loyal to your position, your comfort, and make sure your position is always worth their loyalty. That means growth, competence, value. If you stop evolving, they stop respecting. If they stop respecting, they stop staying. Simple. You want to keep people around? Don't guilt them. Don't beg them. Don't appeal to the past. Stay valuable. Stay sharp. Stay necessary. The people who matter will stay because leaving costs too much. And here's the thing: that's not cold. That's clarity. You're not manipulating anyone. You're just refusing to pretend loyalty works on hope. Most people fail right here. They build relationships on sentiment. Then they're shocked when reality breaks them. Don't be most people. Rule number 7. Never show all your capability. Machiavelli knew this instinctively. The moment people understand your full capacity, they box you, they price you, they limit you. Competence is leverage only when it's partially hidden. If you solve every problem immediately, people assume that's your ceiling. They stop offering you more. They just expect more of the same, for the same reward. But if you solve some problems quickly and hold back on others, they assume you're choosing when to perform, that you have gears they haven't seen. That assumption creates mystery, and mystery creates value. Think about it. The employee who does everything fast gets more work, same pay. The one who's selective, they get curiosity, respect, promotion, because management assumes there's more capacity they haven't tapped yet. Same logic everywhere. Relationships, negotiations, social dynamics. Never empty the tank in front of people who are evaluating you. Here's the rule: perform well, but never perform completely. Leave them wondering what else you're capable of. Let your ceiling stay invisible. That gap between what they've seen and what they imagine, that's your leverage. Use it. And here's where it gets dangerous. The moment you show everything, you become predictable. And we already covered what happens to predictable people. They get controlled. So, what does this actually mean for you? Show competence. Show results. But never show desperation to prove yourself. Let your work hint at depth. Let them come to you asking for more. That's when you negotiate. That's when you set terms. Not before. Rule number 8. Control the narrative or someone else will. Machiavelli said, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Translation: You're judged by association and by story. If you don't control how you're perceived, someone else will, and they won't be kind. They'll shape your image to suit their agenda. This is why quiet people get labeled lazy, why confident people get called arrogant, why strategic people get called cold. Someone else wrote that script, and the audience believed it, because you didn't write your own. Modern psychology calls this narrative control. Marketing calls it branding. Machiavelli called it statecraft. Same principle. If you're not intentionally shaping how people see you, you're letting them decide. And they'll decide based on their bias, their insecurity, and their need to feel superior. Here's the rule. Define yourself before someone else does. Not loudly, not defensively, just clearly. Through your actions, your associations, your words, and your boundaries. Let people know what you stand for by what you won't tolerate. Let them know your value by who you give access to. Let them know your standards by what you walk away from. That consistency writes the story, and once it's written, it's hard to rewrite. Think about it. The people with the strongest reputations aren't the most talented. They're the most consistent. Their narrative is clear, predictable in brand, unpredictable in execution. See the difference? That's mastery. Now watch this. The moment you control your narrative, you stop defending yourself. Because the story's already set, people either accept it or they're irrelevant. That's freedom. Now, you understand the game. These aren't tricks. They're laws. Laws that govern how humans assign respect, allocate power, and decide who leads and who follows. You've been operating in a system you didn't know existed, and that ignorance kept you confused. Kept you blaming yourself for outcomes that were structural. You weren't weak, you were blind, but now you see, and seeing changes the equation completely. From this point forward, you can't pretend. You can't go back to believing effort equals reward, or that kindness guarantees safety, or that good intentions protect you from bad outcomes. Those are comfortable lies, and comfort is expensive. It costs you position. It costs you respect. It costs you control. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to make people comfortable. He wrote it because Florence was burning and good men kept losing. He wrote it because morality without strategy is just martyrdom. And you're not here to be a martyr. You're here to win. Not loudly, not arrogantly, just clearly. So let me show you something. Every rule I just gave you can be summarized in one line. Power respects strength, not virtue. That's it. That's the entire game. Everything else is decoration. If you're strong in your boundaries, your silence, your value, your narrative, and your unpredictability, you're untouchable. If you're weak in any of those areas, you're a resource. You're something people use until you're empty. Then they move on. That's not cruelty. That's nature. Machiavelli just had the spine to say it. But here's the trap. You'll be tempted to go back, to be the old version of you, the one who over-explains, who seeks approval, who sacrifices position for temporary peace. You'll be tempted because that version felt safe. It wasn't. It was invisible. And invisible people don't get respect. They get managed. So stay here, in the discomfort, in the clarity, in the space where you see the game and refuse to lose it. This is the line between survivors and victims, between people who shape their world and people who get shaped by it. You're on one side or the other, and ignorance is no longer an excuse. If this made you uncomfortable, good. It means you're waking up. It means something inside you recognized the truth, even if your ego fought it. That tension, that's growth. That's the moment you stop being easy to control. Now, here's what you do next. You take one rule, just one, and you apply it this week. Not all of them, not perfectly, just one. Maybe it's silence. Maybe it's boundaries. Maybe it's narrative control. Pick the one that scared you the most, because that's the one you need. And then watch what happens. Watch how people respond differently. Watch how respect shifts. Watch how you stop apologizing for existing. That's the proof. That's when you'll know this isn't theory, it's structure, and structure is everything. Type, "I see the game now," in the comments if this hit you. Not for me, for yourself. Make it real. Say it out loud. Because the moment you claim it, you can't unclaim it. You're accountable now, and accountability is the first step to power. Let's build.